55% to the upside and then 24% to the downside, all since March. A roller coaster ride for ADA holders, leaving everyone kind of just like, what's next? What's going to happen next? Also leaving a lot of people that just sit there and they say, technical analysis doesn't work. This is exactly why. We get all these moves to the upside, and all of a sudden, we're just coming back down, erasing all of those gains. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. I agree that nobody knows what is going to happen next, but this is exactly why technical analysis works so well. And we're going to tie into this video ADA price targets on the short term because it's becoming very important, even in the next 24 hours or so. But I'm going to tie into this story of short-term price movement, this longer-term concept, and it is a notice. It's an important reminder. It's something that has helped me so much in crypto over the years, and I think it's going to really help going into the next cycle. So please hit the subscribe for me. Hit that like button if you're an ADA holder or if you enjoy this content. Your support really means a lot to me. And let's just jump into this video. First things first, before we discuss short-term targets, before we discuss the importance of Cardano's next move, even in the next 24 hours or so, what's happening here on the screen really just illustrates so nicely what we're going to discuss. It's consolidation. Consolidation to the upside, consolidation to the downside. Higher highs and higher lows, falling down into lower lows and lower highs. This is a 4-hour chart that we see all the time on shorter term charts and all of the time on longer term charts. You can zoom out on a long-term weekly chart and you just see this story playing out time and time again. And this is, before we discuss ADA targets and what's next on ADA price, this is exactly what we were discussing in this video from 11 days ago as it pertains to ADA. Take a really quick look at this clip. That's that support area, and this is where our target is for ADA out of this rising channel. It's 34 cents. So this was 11 days ago, 34-cent target we're discussing. And if we look at the 4-hour chart right now, look what ADA has done. So ADA has really, and this is all coming back to falling out of this white trend line, right? The target that we're discussing was kind of this 34-cent target. ADA pretty much, 35 is basically what it hit, pretty much there, right? And even if it just trickles down, and let me just zoom in here, it just kind of starts trending down again to this lower trend line. We're basically at 34 cents here in this new consolidation. It's a falling wedge, right? So that playing out very nicely. All of the while in the same video, I'm not going to show a clip, but we were discussing a higher low Fibonacci. So that higher low Fibonacci really starts bringing things together in terms of what we're tracking right now in the short term. And it is swing low to swing high. And you can just see we're in that Fibonacci range right now, the lower end of the range at the 786, around 33 cents. So two things happening. We have the target out of that rising channel, 34 cents, and we have this lower end of support at 33 cents. So really, what's in play right now that I'm curious of if ADA does continue to fall in the short term is this area. And I want to discuss exactly why that's important to me in the short term in just a minute. But first, let me just show you the main concept here. It's the title of the video that I did 11 days ago. Cardano on schedule for those with patience. And so that is everything. That's exactly the notice that I want to revisit in this video as we break down actual technical analysis and we look at targets. Cardano on schedule. And you can even notice on the chart in this new falling wedge, right? We have a target. If we get a breakout back to 45 cents, target to the upside if the bulls step in. Target to the downside, though, is sub 30 cents. It's in play. Even in that environment, even in this environment, if this was going to be the low, the midterm low, the long-term low, you zoom out on the 4-hour, you zoom out on the 6-hour, and if ADA, and you can actually not 6-hour, but this is the daily, and if you actually see if ADA starts actually hitting these targets, the 28 cents target that we just looked at, sub 30 cents over here, even if ADA is falling to that area out of this new setup that it's in, and we're actually going to dissect this setup in just a minute, but even if that's happening, the point here is maintaining patience. And this is for me, maintaining patience and realizing how normal of a move that is on the long term. We can't predict what's going to ever happen with crypto. This is a risky, volatile environment. We have to always remember that as kind of the foundation. And for me, it's like you don't spend more than you can afford to lose when you're investing and when you're making decisions. That's how it is for me. And I think that's a really sound approach. But at the same time, when you start zooming out on the daily, on the weekly, and you just start looking at what's actually happening and you start spotting trends, you start analyzing momentum, and you start analyzing that with historical data consistencies, the approach becomes, at least for me, more confident, right? And that's where I am right now. Everything is on schedule, even if ADA is falling, because covering crypto for over 5 years on this YouTube channel, this move that's happening with ADA right now, the volatility that we see happening, even with more downside in play, this happens all of the time. I can't ignore what has happened year after year after year, covering it, documenting it publicly. I can't ignore that. I have to use that data and remind myself of this concept. It's on schedule. Obviously, maintain my portfolio in a way, in a fashion I'm comfortable with, but just remember, like, this is normal. ADA can fall below 30 cents. We don't want it to happen, but it's normal. We talk about downside scenarios all the time. So let's dig into why actually the next 24 hours are kind of important for ADA. And let's also kind of work in this shorter term setup. Let me clean up the chart a little bit. So you see that green Fibonacci. Let me just chart a square, a rectangle, just to kind of keep that in play in mind on this chart. And then let's clear it up a little bit. So this is where we are in terms of ADA charts, right? It's consolidating. One thing I want to point out, if you go to the daily chart real quick, we're on this daily oversold stock RSI, quicker moving momentum oscillator. I wouldn't be surprised if ADA starts popping out of there and we get some type of move to the upside. And the short-term charts, I think, gives us a good sense of what to look for actual true bullish confirmation. But it's been hanging out in this stock RSI oversold since April 23rd or so. That's quite a good amount of time to be down here, hovering down here. And if you just look at ADA, when it does this for that long, it does eventually pop up. That doesn't mean it's going to be a massive bullish move. That's why we bring into play things like this shorter term 4-hour chart. So let's just evaluate this. For me, it's very simple. The first things first, extreme contrast analysis. The best case scenario, worst case scenario, get them in play and realize that they're both truly potentially going to happen, right? Like, meaning 45 cents in play or 28 cents in play. The very simple fact before I start anything else is I ask myself, how do I feel with that? If we hit 28 cents, how am I doing? Right? If we go to 45 cents, how am I doing? What am I thinking? In this moment, am I cool with my position? Right? That's why I do technical analysis. It's not to predict what's going to happen next. This is a visual exercise. I can't say that I get comments a lot. You're always wrong. And it's just like, I don't like to comment back that I'm not wrong. I'm never wrong. But it's impossible for me to be wrong, really, because most videos, and what I mean is it's impossible for me to be wrong when discussing technical analysis. In life, I make mistakes all the time. So, but I want to say, I don't sit here just predicting targets and saying, we're going to 45 cents, and then I'm wrong, right? We always are just like, we don't know what's going to happen. How can I be wrong about that? That is true. We don't know what's going to happen. So 29 cents to the downside, 28 cents to the downside, 45 cents to the upside. Now, the next step for me after I accept that potential reality is to say, what confirmations, this is where it leads to if you're going to make a move, if I need to do something, what confirmations would I be watching for? And there's two things happening right now. It starts on the 4-hour, and then it's also on the weekly. Number one, what happens down here at 34 cents? Are we breaking that support area? Meaning, is ADA breaking out of this consolidation? If we get a bounce here, right, especially with the look of that daily RSI, I'd be looking for the bounce to 37 cents or so, right? Or even right now, it's right around 37 to 38 cents, this upper trend line. What happens there? Are we getting a breakout? And then amidst the breakout, are we going to get that continued higher high, higher low move, right? And that's what we're waiting for. And the same is true to the downside. We might get a pullback to that lower trend line, maybe the bounce off of that that lower end Fibonacci, right? So right around 33 cents. And then is this the bearish confirmation of resistance? And are we going to fall to the target of 28 cents? These are the things I watch, and it all ties into my macro mindset, and that sits here on the weekly. And really, the reason I'm really tracking that 4-hour chart isn't really because, I mean, I care what's going to happen next. I do. Like, I want ADA to break to the upside. But for me, I'm just kind of, I've already accepted the reality of, you know, it could just fall to 28 cents. We could break out. I'm just going to live through whatever happens next at this point. I don't think I really have any moves I'm trying to make. If we hit 28 cents, maybe some accumulation there would make sense. But I'll revisit that in the moment. I'm ready for it if it happens, obviously. But it's the weekly that really becomes important, that 4-hour. And it's this. The next 24 hours or so, I should say 1 day, 9 hours as I do the video. If you're looking at this, we have the 20-week moving average. And we kind of alluded to it in that video from 11 days ago, discussing if it's falling, I think it was in this part of the video, if it's falling down here, what's the weekly going to be doing? The reason the weekly is important is because that 20-week moving average around 36, 37 cents. And you can just see, I mean, we're hovering right at the area. The 20-week moving average, I probably should have set context a little bit more in this video instead of waiting till kind of the end. But this 20-week moving average, you all know if you've been watching my technical analysis, it's the macro indicator in terms of momentum for ADA. We've been under it. We've seen resistance under it. And right now, for really months, it's been the story of flipping that narrative, right? And so it started with a nice break above, and then even kind of this kind of support at the 20-week. We fell below briefly at that 1 week, but look at that momentum. And now we've gotten some separation, and here we are again, testing it, right? We want to see support here. It's not guaranteed that we will in the next 1 day, 9 hours, but that's why this 4-hour chart is important to me, because if it does start breaking down, even right now, we start even revisiting the lower trend line, right? You can just see lower trend line, or we're breaking that area. Look at that lower trend line. What's the price? It's like right around 34, 35 cents, right? And you go back to that weekly chart, and it's just like, look at where this is. I mean, we're going to be below, we'll be closing below this weekly candle if ADA continues on that trajectory. Right now, ADA actually has to move up a little bit, maybe test the upper end of this rising wedge, or falling wedge, maybe even break out a little to get this weekly close above the 20-week moving average. But all the while, it's important to note on this weekly, and this is the notice, it's on schedule. Right now, it's a higher low in play from this swing low. And if it actually comes down and starts testing that 28 cent target that we talked about, and we break this low, it's still a higher low on the macro, right? And that's something I need to remind myself of. That's that important notice. Just because ADA's falling and consolidating doesn't mean it's all over. I mean, did it mean it was all over back here at 3 cents, or back here at around 3 cents, or even here at 10 cents, falling all the way back down? Did that mean it was all over? Or did it mean it's just, hey, this is what crypto does all the time, and it just introduces to the market this whole new reality of fear, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the consolidation is over, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, on something like the daily, we're just popping out of oversold, and we're back on our way into overbought territory. How many times have we tracked this story play out time and time again? That flip from fear markets to just full-on bullish, everybody's ready to go to the moon again. And so we track these moves to the downside. It's just an important reminder, I think, for myself, just to sit here and say, even if we continue lower, it's on schedule. And it's fun, the fact that we're approaching this apex, and maybe ADA breaks out leading into this week, and we're maybe going to see a test of 45 cents again. But again, nobody knows. I just wanted to track that piece of the story, that reminder as we're tracking short-term charts, and we're really kind of going through not just volatility, but I think a lot of people are getting just tired of the markets in general right now. There's been a lot of sideways. There has been a lot of kind of roller coaster action, and people, I think, are ready just for maybe more consistent gains. But I wanted to just discuss my thoughts as it relates to not only just ADA, but crypto in general being on schedule. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, everybody. I appreciate you. Hit the subscribe, hit the like. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.